Ladies and gentlemen, this panel discussion is of great importance to me because I'm being a development economist. My PhD area is this, worked on environmental input output modeling, and this topic is very close to my heart. Although I'm not an engineer that can talk about the technological perspectives of these revolutions in technology. But of course, as economists, what are the implications of such technologies, economy-wide, nationwide, and at global level? So it's said that the fight for the climate is not the fight of one person or one country. It's the fight of every person because the climate issue is a global issue. It's not the issue that's faced by one continent. It's not the problem that resides in few cities, but we all suffer from the climatic issues, challenges, and problems. And reasons are we, the human anthropogenic, our production and consumption patterns drive all these climatic issues and problems. So I would start with something interesting. You might have the time he was talking about tsunami. I have tsunami and tsunami. So though it was a point of what you call something that pushed me to use his word and also to quote him as being a researcher, you must also quote that you were impressed and you took the idea from him. But basically, this is not that tsunami. Institutions in technologies were very slow. After the third industrial revolutions, we saw a rapid growth. But after the fourth industrial revolution, it's not just rapid, but it's exponential rapid growth. So that changes is so dynamic and so fast, even to take the track of it is very difficult. And within the taxonomy, there are some revolutions that are taking place that is of the another aspect of the green technologies, the green revolutions. Revolutions, those technologies that are eco-friendly, supportive to human civilizations, that pose less climatic problems to societies. So, and of course, you know that what are these are. So we call them, one report written by United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, the Technology Innovation Report, where they talked about the 7 frontier technologies. And according to that report, the market for those frontier technologies in 2022 is $1.5 trillion. And this will cross to $9.5 trillion by 2030. So you can imagine that through the estimations, using some assumptions like the certain growth rates they have taken, how fast the technology will grow in recent times. 2030 is not very far from us. And before that, I highlighted that the 10% of the highest 10% of the globe is producing as much emissions as the 50% of the lowest emitters in the world. And still all over the world, the growth, the economic growth is fossil fuel-led growth. And we also find disparity in regions, in countries, and areas within the one country like China. In China, you see that we find a lot of disparities in one areas. In other areas, they have also focused on renewable energies. So today, our topic of panel discussion is, of course, to talk about a technical perspective. Then we talk about the management perspective of the technology. And then, of course, we connect it with the businesses, that how these technologies, though whether they are eco-friendly and green technologies, how they shape our business models and how they grow over the time, what are the financial constraints, and what ecosystem is required for it, and what's the role of universities, research in shaping these technologies and also connecting those technologies and future business models. So of course, we have a very good panel here, and we are already out of time. I thought that I would also talk about some other thing that I'll also like here, like in SDG index, you all know that. I saw the keynote speech made by Aslan on the USM, their the Green Office, that how they are addressing the SDGs and how much they are progressing on it. Unfortunately, world over, since they developed the SDGs, we are far behind the targets that we set in 2030, that there will be no poverty, there will be zero hunger, clean energy, all these 17 goals, and 17 last goal is about the partnerships that we also like to highlight. So first of all, I would begin my panel discussion with the first question. I'll throw the first question that is about what's the green technology and how it is different from all the traditional technologies, and how these green technologies play a role in conserving the energy, improving the environmental efficiency, and help us to address the climatic issues. So first question I would ask this from Professor Zahid Hussain Khan Saab. So what's your view on it?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much for inviting me in this panel discussion. And before answering to your question, I would like to congratulate the Sakkari Bay University family. I'm also remain the part of this, and still I am regarding the big achievement of getting the AACSB accreditation. And this is a journey that was started in December 2009, and after a very passionate struggle after 15 years, the Sakkari Bay University got this prestigious accreditation of AACSB. So congratulations to the current Vice Chancellor, and I pay a rich tribute to Professor Nisar Ahmad Siddiqui. I remember the day when he called us, Mir Muhammad Shah and me, that he was traveling from USA, and he asked us to join at Dubai a session what was on December 6 to 8 in 2009. And at that time we don't know about the abbreviation of AACSB. So after getting this, he asked us on December 9 that take 10 ways that what we have got from this seminar, and then how we will implement at Sakkari Bay University. So I remember that I written the first one, that was that we immediately get the membership of AACSB. So from that day, with the support of all the faculty members and the leadership of Professor Nisar Ahmad Siddiqui, Alhamdulillah, today the Sakkari Bay University is the first public sector university which got the AACSB accreditation. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you. Sir, as far as your question is concerned, that what is these impact of the green technologies, we give the different names: renewable energy, green technologies, we say clean energy. All these are the same name to same concept. These are the different. That if you are producing something, any product or any services that is using the renewable energy resources, then we call it that clean energy or the green energy or green technology products. The three R's, if they are using, any company is using, that is the reduce, if you think, reuse and recycle. If that concept is implemented anywhere in a company, then these company products are also complying the green technology standards. So if, because my experience is mostly with the university sector, and alhamdulillah we have implemented this green office initiative at Sakkari Bay University, which was also talked by the USM professor. Uh, this this we have implemented in 2014 from this. Even this leaf concept we have implemented at university, that if the first leaf was that if you have uh, reducing the use of paper, means for example we were asking the employees that do not use or print the paper. If you need, then use the both side of the paper. Then this, and if you want to use the printer, then printer have dual printing facility. And if you are going out from the room, then please shut down the air condition as well as the light. So these were some of the milestones. If these are achieved, then we call them that you have achieved the first leap. In a way, we were the part of WWF Green Office Initiative, and we become the member. And there were three indicators in that initiative. Number one was that how many units you are reducing are producing through the renewable resources. And second one was that how many reams of papers you are reduced in a year. And the third indicator was that what was the waste segregation, that the waste that can be recycled, and if it is a bio waste, then how you dump it and then produce the fertilizer from that bio waste. So these were the three indicators, and alhamdulillah, I remember that in 2019 there was 10 years celebration of WWF, and at that we got three awards in all these categories. And in a one way that we were producing the 63% from the renewable energy for the university, and we have reduced the 47% of the waste, and we have reduced the about 40% of the paper consumption in the university. So that was a big achievement at that time, that even in April 2019, I remember that our bill was literally zero from the SEPCO. So that was an achievement that we have got in the 2019. Still, we are implementing and continuing these renewable energy resources. We have enhanced this at Sakkari Bay University. Even the same concept I brought at my university where I am now, at Arur University. So by taking all the stakeholders in line, for example, in the students, faculty members, staffs, we can easily implement all these standards at the universities.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I move to Ali Zain, because you've been to consultant on energy side. What's your view on it? Because typically you're very much technical person on it, and you've been consulting various firms on the energy side.
Thank you very much. So I just spent the last 2 years running the national power system for Pakistan. For the blackout of January 23rd, I'm very sorry. No, but jokes aside, we are moving towards a greener power system, greener energy system. Internationally, the term that is used is the 3D or 4D, so democratization of energy, digitalization of energy, decentralization of energy, So for what that means is that we are moving away from tried and tested technologies, coal plants, gas-fired power stations, very large power stations close to the cities, and we're either moving to where the resources are located, which are very far away. So for example, Jhimpir, there's no load in Jhimpir, it's only generation. So you need to spend a lot of money and to get that energy from places where the resources are rich, but there's no load, all the way to your load center. So for example, in Pakistan, 80% of our load is north of Guddu. But the government has, well, let's call it ill-planned by putting 10,000 megawatts generation south, right near Karachi. And this is part of the reason why we've had blackouts. And this is very important as you're moving forward, because the older power plants are very close to the cities, and that gives us a lot of stability. That's what you need, because you run the power system based on certain physics and certain fundamentals. So those power plants have inertia, they provide voltage support. When you remove those power plants, you shut them down and you go to places like Jhimpir or even rooftop solar, you lose the inertia in the system and you lose the voltage support. So this makes our system much weaker. And this is internationally also we've seen all over the place. Everyone is worried about low inertia power systems, how are we going to sustain. Yet at the same time, everyone wants to decarbonize. So there's another acronym for this, it's called the energy trilemma. It used to be called the dilemma. How can you provide cheap power reliably? Because it's not easy. Reliability is usually expensive, costs a lot of money. Redundancy, operating reserves, all these things. So it used to be called the energy dilemma. Now it's called the trilemma, which is even more difficult because you have to provide cheap, reliable, and clean power. And we've seen in Pakistan at least that this is not possible. And I think internationally also people are finding that this is almost impossible to do. If I take the example of the UK, for example, they have increased their wind power tremendously. I think the overall system peak is 65 gigawatt, and they have over like 80 gigawatts of wind installed. Of course, not all of it runs at the same time. So the energy cost has come down because wind is cheap, of course, it's free, so operating cost is low. But because it's intermittent, you have to balance it. Because you have to balance it, you have to keep power plants on standby, on reserve, and they're burning fuel. So their balancing energy costs have increased by 10, a factor of 10. So I think these are some of the aspects that we see that we have to consider as we move forward, is that yes, the technology is coming, but it's not fit for purpose. So maybe it'll take another 10, 15 years to get to that point. So this bridge is going to be very difficult. It's going to be very costly as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alizan. Now I move to our online panelist, very expert in the environmental and energy perspective side, ex-Vice Chancellor and expert, Mr. Tawfiq. Do you hear me?
Yes, yeah, yes, it's very.
So I'd like to ask the same question in a different way, like moved, because we talked about the renewable energy. The top 10 countries in the world are, number one, Iceland, and the energy production of the renewable energy share is 86.8%. That means 87%. Norway around 72%. Sweden 50%. So the Scandinavian countries contribute significantly in production of the clean energy. Whereas the world average is 17%, and Pakistan shares in renewable energy is less than world average. That's around 14%, 10.62%. 10.62%. So that means if you see the globally, that the non-renewable energy source of generation is 83%. Most of them are fossil fuel energy, and of course others, nuclear energy as well. So Dr. Tawfiq, what's your point of view that why we rely too much on fossil fuels energy whenever there's a report by the Harvard that in 2018, because of the environmental pollution, CO2 emissions and other greenhouse gases emissions, more than 7 million people died because of these pollutions lead diseases. What do you say about it?
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Butong, and thank you for the invitation as one of the panel of this discussion today. Well, I would like to comment before that on the green technology, whereby we are talking about green technology, which renewable energy is one of them. So when we talk about green technology, the definition is very broad actually. As long as the technology has the potential to significantly improve the environmental performance, then this is included in so-called the green technology. Well, one of them is actually is renewable energy, and in fact, uh, we are at this moment we are on the peak of this so-called oil peak actually, where the consumption of the fossil fuel is the highest, and we are so-called the very lucky people at the moment at this century to be able to use this source actually, which is not renewable. Well, most of this country, basically, many of the countries still rely on this fossil fuel actually, and many of this country also rely on the business which contribute by this fossil fuel. Well, many part of the world also haven't have this concern, less concern about the use of the renewable energy, maybe because their sources of the renewable energy is very less, because it should come from a different, the source of this renewable energy basically is much higher in terms of the cost as compared to the current fossil fuel actually. When we compare between the biodiesel and also normal diesel, which is the fossil diesel, the cost for production of a biodiesel is much higher as compared to the fossil diesel, just because of the source of this biodiesel, which is come from vegetable oil, is much higher as compared to the fossil fuel. But sometimes that's why we found that this biodiesel, a liter of biodiesel, is much expensive than the mineral water or the seawater which been desalinated to produce drinking water. Is more expensive. In fact, some of the country, especially in Malaysia and Indonesia, which is the largest producer of oil palm or palm oil.
Dr. Tawfiq, are you there? Okay.
Very expensive here than the diesel. Also criteria, to take green technology, which is, well, the most important part actually, we're talking on waste, reducing the waste actually, and to reduce the material use, which is the raw material. The third one is to reduce the hazardous. The fourth one is to reduce the risk, and also the fifth, which is the energy, to reduce the energy consumption, which is the energy efficiency. And at the end should be reduce the cost of the production, because one thing, if we could reduce the waste, when we reduce the waste, actually the waste also can be used to produce the product. So this is where how business have to look into, whereby look into the policy where the waste become wealth to the industry, especially let me share with you the oil palm industry, which is one of these industry whereby the government, the policy of the government to have a zero waste actually, and also all the waste can use to produce wealth, and in fact the waste, especially the biomass waste actually from the oil palm industry, can be used to produce renewable energy, for example. So that's why most of the country, or in Malaysia, we utilize a lot of this biomass waste actually, so that this can also produce renewable energy, either from the solid waste and also from the liquid waste, because in oil palm industry there are two type of waste. In fact, we produce too much as one of the biggest producer of the oil palm. Then we produce too many of this biomass waste, and we utilize this biomass to produce a renewable energy. How? First, from a various technology that are available in the market actually, all right, and also from the liquid waste, which is the wastewater come from the oil palm industry. We call it pome or palm oil meal influence. But this one, when you add with this anaerobic bacteria, we can produce this biogas. And this biogas basically consists of methane and also CO2. So this methane we can bottle up, we can use it to produce energy, and in fact the energy can be connected to the grid and to supply power to the society. So the concern, the awareness of the people is also very important. Not only the government policies, the government can make a lot of policy, but the people, the society also have to have the awareness and the knowledge, so that we can use more renewable energy, the sources of the renewable energy, and so on. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tawfiq. Now, a question is from Mr. Feroz, who's from industry. Sir, what do you think, what sectors have more potential to adopt green energy globally and with special context of Pakistan?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Dr. Bhutto, for inviting me. Secondly, congratulations to you, your university, and the entire team for getting this well sought after accreditation. I think it is a very honorable thing. Thirdly, my remark is that when I came first time to IBS Sukkur several years ago, and from that time I have been in touch. I felt that this was an island of excellence in the middle of almost nowhere, not to slight anybody, in the realm of education and the ambit. After Karachi, we went to Hyderabad and then went on to all the way to Obaro. Then suddenly we saw IBS Sukkur University. And this, and the offshoots from this place, like Dr. Khan sitting here, and then also inspiration from here. I'm 100% sure, again without slighting anyone, that the standards of education, even in Jamshoro over the past 20, 30 years have risen. I have no doubt. So I think we're doing something good. This was, could have been in the eyes of a perception of the general audience, something not related to the topic. But in my opinion, it is very much related. And it is related because the overall things vis-a-vis the word tsunami was used in the technology. And my take to hold this thing is, if we are more educated, we can look at this thing from two sides. Yes, it could be intimidating, it could be scary. And what is scary? When there's darkness, that's the most scary thing. And education gives you light. It gives you light and it clears your perspective. You have your options and you can choose those options. So whether it was a slide rule or it was just the main Chinese, those beads, and then from on and telex and fax and typewriters, and now we have this. We used to have a mainframe computer which was the size of a room in 1970s. And now in a little smartphone, we have more power than that. So, and we have adapted well. Now, what do we have to do in terms of IBS Sukkur is an institution which is economics and management and trying to train, educate our people, our kids, to better steer the challenges of the future. Now, coming back to uh, the main topic of this, here is, can you just switch to the other one, please, first? Thank you so much, very kind. Okay, some of you in the room, and especially Ali Zain sitting next to me, he can explain these things even better. But for a general perspective, look at what's going on and where we are and what is the cheapest source of power. So onshore wind takes the cake. And he referred to Champir. But then there was also a kind of a dilemma that, okay, there is a production side, and then where is the consumer side? So perhaps we need to match those two things, and we need to make our very, very best to invest in this. Next slide, please. This is another thing which is again referring to the same thing in terms of what happens decreasing renewable energy costs. So the capex, the capital expenditure in certain areas where it used to be, whether you take electric cars or whether you take energy, and where the lithium ion battery used to be so much more expensive, and they're going down. And then you will suddenly see that as long as we stick with the fossil fuel, we are doomed. We are doomed on two fronts. One is that the cost is too high, which is making us uncompetitive. And I'll come to that side again, on the uncompetitive side. And the third thing is that we are environmentally also doomed. This planet God gave us as our place, and what we did was we tried to exploit it and exploit it and exploit it to an extent that we started to destroy it. So the ecosystem, that was destroyed. So we need to take care of both of those things. And now coming back to the side which I said I'll touch again. I'm from the industry, I'm an engineer. I did my bachelor's in, I think, a couple of 100 years ago, 1971, from NED. And I had a master's from University of California, Santa Barbara. A lot of you may not know, but if you not, just Google it. There was a company called Adam Motor Company, and there was a car called Revo. It was launched in 2005, and I was the guy behind it. I designed it with my very young engineers and a couple of people, and we launched it, and we sold 600 of those. And somebody from China said to us about 2-3 years ago, and I am not here to insult anyone, but facts are facts, that if you guys think that Japan is your best friend, then think again. The kind of foreign exchange you have sent to them in the last 50 years just buying CKD parts. So why don't you do these parts here? Okay, so when I was member on Engineering Development Board, and I was the convener of indigenization, this was in 90s all the way up to 2006 or 7. We did the maximum indigenization, and now I'll give you an example of Toyota cars in Pakistan and Honda cars in Pakistan. You will have noticed that basically the difference in the price is Toyotas are always 2-3-4 lakh sasta than the other one. And Toyota is also more durable, even though Honda is very much better looking and perhaps more comfortable. So that was all the fruit of indigenization. Now, where are we going? Our energy cost has gone up from 24-25 rupees per kilowatt hour to now today 56 rupees. That is 20 cents. Now, I just went the other day to UAE to look for what should we do, because with this cost, we are all becoming highly uncompetitive. And if you're highly uncompetitive, and how would you value add, and how would you be competitive, and how would you export or generate export surplus. And that is why we are going down and down and down. So we need to indigenize even renewable energy, hydro, solar, wind in this country, and at the same time we need to protect the environment, and we need to get our kids to go into environmental sciences and these kind of things. Now, as far as the general AI and technology, I was talking to Dr. Khan, and I'm very pleased. I was actually surprised, and congratulations to you that you're starting a bachelor's program in AI. See, all these things are tools. We don't need to be afraid of these things. We negotiated life thousands of years ago. We did it before the Industrial Revolution. We are doing it now. We will also do it future, but we need to, like you're doing, we need to prepare our children for future challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feroz, for your very good insights. So now I move to our expert and Vice Chancellor, researcher, Professor Dr. Orilla Bhutto. And before that raised question, I gave you a scenario that the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, they prepared an index known as Frontier Technology Readiness Index. The countries, of course, which are ready to accept those technologies or not. For example, among them are, I already mentioned AI, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, blockchain, robotics, electrical vehicles, green hydrogen, and others. Of course, they also talk about a lot of startups already developed, which are matured, and some new startups which are to be developed because of the rapid innovations in green revolutions. So there was a recommendation in the report that the developing countries, because they are far behind, like Pakistan's position is from among 160 countries, 123. Again, we are in bottom in many places. I was not surprised because if I saw the HDI, I saw the Innovation Index, I saw the entrepreneurial index. In ease of doing businesses, we are always find ourselves, I don't know, we always in bottom place. So they suggested that the developing countries, rather to develop new startups, should focus on the startups already developed in the developed countries because they are already tested and there's no need of R&D to spend too much money on it. Rather, they should adopt it. So, because being entrepreneur, I heard you have done a lot of work on it, your research is on it. What do you think, should we follow this recommendation, or because you are also a Vice Chancellor, you researcher, or should developing country also focus on developing new technologies?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Watu is mantasha, watu zil mantasha. Well, at the outset, I would like to congratulate Sukkur IBA for getting this AA CSP accreditation, but also congratulations to Dr. Nyasa for coming up with this wonderful conference, which is 5th International Conference. But it's the topic that he chosen, and he shared all of us. The topic which is talking about the tsunami, the technology tsunami. So it's a very interesting topic, and I think this theme that he have chosen has the problem and solution in it itself. What he's been talking about the technology tsunami, which is causing all of these educational institutions to think and rethink about coming up with a new curricula, new programs. Other universities are also doing the same. And we've also seen multiple examples already there outside in the advanced world. Few we have seen in the presentation of Jawad Saab. But I was also looking and exploring a bit in detail, and I found there are master's program with the title of Management in Sustainability, Sustainability Management. So world is already doing it. So I was seeing there's a technology tsunami word, which is making us fearful from the advanced tools like artificial intelligence. But at the same time, when you've been talking about the green technology, it has the answers in it. So answers here means that if we have been fear from one technology, we need to make it sure that the businesses that we establish, they should be sustainable enough to make it sure that the technology they are proposing should not be replacing human, rather it will be helping human. So focus of the curricula may be considered in a dimensions that we as the educational institution start thinking on coming up devising certain new curricula that will bridge a gap between technology manager and technology developer. See, we have been talking about two different things. We have this industry sitting here, we have the academia sitting here, but we academia, in fact, are not the technology developers. Here at the same time, in the industry, unfortunately, again, we do not have the technology developers. So technology development is a very different concept, it's a very different theme. Indigenization, of course, is the solution. But again, so far, so good. With so many years have already been passed, unfortunately, we could not really make it done. Even if somehow we come up with this indigenous technologies, we are finding it much more difficult to get them commercialized. And why we are finding it difficult? Because our shelves are already full with the external advanced technologies. Sir, your point of view that you have mentioned that whether we have to follow up the startups that have been already created, what we need to do is to replicate it here in Pakistan. I think this is what we have been doing since ages. This is what we have been doing since last 76 years. And whether this decision that have been made early, whether it took us to some place where we are standing today, even being seen ourselves at a very last position, almost in all the indicators, I think no, the solution and the suggestion or the recommendation given by those dignitaries, I don't think it's really suit us. And why it doesn't suit us? Because if we've been following on the same path, maybe we'll not lead anywhere. What is in fact required is to understand our own contextual dimensions. Understand that how we as different institutions, being a technology developer institutions or being a technology management institutions can sit together. We need to understand what is the real world problem. We need to understand what are our problem and then accordingly come up with solutions which will make our technology different from the rest of the world. AI, yes, it's of course a ubiquitous technology. We cannot really get rid of it. Any other technology, the computer, the cell phone, the frequencies, all these things which are there and they're there to help out our businesses. We cannot really get rid of them and we should not think over it. Because this is the world which is connecting us to the advanced world. If we'll be disconnected from the advanced world, we'll stand nowhere. But we are not the only blind followers. That what they have developed, we keep it up with us and then blindly we follow this. I mean, sometimes we feel that we are earning dollars on Fivers and Upwork. And we feel really proud of it. Our students are really doing wonderful. We are getting US dollars, we are earning US dollars with us, and they're coming from outside the world. Well, unfortunately, if we see it from a more critical view, earlier, what we were doing were the physical labor. We were offering the physical labor to the advanced world. Now what we have started doing, we have started offering the intellectual labor to the advanced world. So this is a very different kind of debate, and we need to be open in terms of realization, open in terms of thinking, that what do we really want from our young generation, from our youth to continue with. Whether they really want to remain a blind follower of whatever been happening around the globe and doing almost similar things what they're doing, or we need to understand our own contextual dimensions and then try to solve our real world problem, which may not be very distinct from the rest of the world, but of course being at the 5th vulnerable country around the globe for the climate crisis, we need to understand. We need to understand how we can survive, how we will be sustainable. And for that, as I mentioned earlier, what universities has to do is to make it sure there are very, very different kind of curriculums they need, in which we want a combination of technology managers and technology developers at the same time. I would like to propose one new curricula that I developed myself. I developed a curricula which I've done in my postdoctorate research. And into this postdoctorate research, I had a chance to sit with technology developers and managers at the same time. Yes, the learning is again coming from the advanced world because unfortunately we do not have those people around. So we learned from them, and after learning from them, I reached a conclusion that these two important guys are not really uttering the similar languages. There is a knowledge asymmetry that exists between them, and because of this knowledge asymmetry, what is happening, they both are going in different dimensions. See, I'm not talking about the developing country. I'm in fact mentioning the developed countries. So if this problem exists there, you can imagine we already have this problem in this society. What is important is to propose certain programs, certain curriculas, which make our different brains sit together. I really enjoy the presentation by Jawad Sahab, who was mentioning use nature. And I think every science, every technology that have been developed so far, it is based on nature. If we've been talking about apple that comes out and the Newton all of a sudden understood what it is, it's a gravity concept. Where does it come from? It comes from the nature. Everything that we see around, everything is in fact being developed and derived from the nature. What is important to make these two important entities sit together, the technology developers and technology managers, on one theme. And that one theme is for a sustainability of our country, one theme on a sustainability of a nation, and one theme to avoid the suffering that we have at the moment. As I mentioned earlier, that I'm proposing my new program that is known as Lean Canvas for Invention, and it's an associated 6-month semester that I usually teach to PhD students of multiple disciplines. And those multiple disciplines, I develop a teams of engineers and managers at the same time. So the engineers come up with the concept of technology development, and the managers come up with the concept of technology management. Bridging a gap between two different entities is important, but with an objective that whatever they will go on through the entire process, which will move from the problem identification of real world problem, leading towards the research outcome, which is at different level of technology readiness. It's not only a technology readiness level, it is also a product readiness level. Keeping in concept that what we want from those new products or new technologies is to solve these issues, which will bringing into the business, causing the sustainability overall. So this is one idea that I can share with you as an output. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Continuing with that, I'd like to just ask one question from you, because you just posed one idea and just forced me to ask a question. What do you think, what's the role of pedagogy in developing the mindset, or of course the creativity of the students towards the green technology? For example, as per the report of MIT, the Future Green Index, specifically on the society side, greener society, Pakistan is much far behind than many other countries. So what do you think, what role universities can play in, of course, disseminating the awareness about the environmental issues, greener technologies, and how teaching pedagogy can play a role in it? No. Role of society. Role of society.
Thank you very much again. The pedagogy, I think we as a university teacher, we know there are a variety of pedagogies that already exist. One of them is the problem-based learning. And problem-based learning again start from identifying the real world problem. I will go back and touch on my same curricula that I mentioned earlier. That has a capacity to identify a problem, goes through a very systematic procedure, and after following that systematic procedure, come out with a solution. So this is, I think, which is required to be done in terms of pedagogy. I was learning about this pedagogy and came across with the concept of 5 Cs. 5 Cs says that your pedagogy needs to impose on your student the critical thinking. He or she must be aware with the collaboration, how to collaborate. At the same time, have a character, communication, and the 5th one, if I remember well, it was critical thinking and creativity both. So the concepts of 5C, if they're embedded in a pedagogy, coming out with the method, because pedagogy means like a combination of different methods together. But if the focus on a problem-based learning, following this 5 Cs of creativity, collaboration, and all others, moving on into a step-by-step discussions, making people sit together, students sit together, again, those two entities, as I said, technology developers and technology managers, coming out with indigenous technologies and trying to get them commercialized. I think this is the one that gives you the solution. Thank you, Nasser.
Now I come back to Mr. Feroz Khan Sahab. Sir, could you please tell us, because you were talking about energizing and all these things, some technologies are cheaper, some are expensive, some are demand-driven, some are supply-side constraints. So adopting the green technologies come with a lot of financial constraints. These constraints are not local, but they are global too. So I would like to hear about your perspective, and also ask the same question from you, because you're also a consultant, because greener technologies are, I mean, the initial investments are very huge, very costly, And that's why we don't find investors, pool of investors. What do you think? What are the main financial constraints, and why don't we find the pool of resources or mobilizations to invest in these technologies? And also from the regulation perspective, do we have some issues from the governmental side, regulation side, that hamper the growth of those technologies?
Thank you. Whatever you asked, first, Dr. Bhutto, and she replied in 5 C's, 5 C's. Bhutto with Bhutto, not Bhutto versus Bhutto, G.A. Bhutto. Okay, so the 5 C's thing, and then you asked in the role of the society, if with your permission, I'd like to take a couple of minutes to address that. What's happening is, and I'm talking in context of Pakistan, and in context of province of Sindh, and in context of what's happening to our general society, overall Pakistan, and also our general society in Sindh. So, and I will be a little liberal in expressing my thoughts. I may hurt some
Sir,
feelings.
bol ke lab azad hain tere.
I may hurt some feelings. I think business as usual will not work. It has not worked. We are sitting on a time bomb. Our society, in which the normal, general, any country which has got 25 million children, school-going age children, not going to school. That is the reality, guys. That is our reality. So when we sit in IBA Sukkur and,
Sir, may I add something to it, and this will give you ground to talk more about it.
yeah,
There are main 3 pillars of sustainable development: economic, social, and environmental. So, question is that whether they are mutually exclusive. If you attain one, that you have to forego the other. If you have to attain another, you have to forego others. Or you can attain all them together with certain strategies. Because there was news I heard that the president of Brazil was asked to reduce the emissions, because on the COP conference of the parties 27, and of course in IPCC there are conferences and countries have to make commitments to reduce emissions. So the Brazil was also asked to reduce emissions and also to reduce the deforestation. Then the president said that we can't compromise our economic and social goals currently just to meet our environmental goals. Whereas the West did the same during their rapid growth time of industrial revolutions. So please keep this context in mind and continue your discussion.
okay. So the 3 SDGs that you mentioned, they are interconnected. Half of the world took 200 years, 300 years to destroy it all. And the other half, which was sleeping for their own reasons or for the reasons imposed onto them, any country, I was taught by economists like you that there is a huge difference between economic growth and economic development. And it is the economic development that we want, not the economic growth of few. And this so-called trickle-down economy, which we have been giving a dose of for the longest year, they have been fooling us. Nothing trickles down, baby, because by that time, it's even halfway dried up. So we need to really rethink about, and now I come to how do you do sustainable economic development? is to first and foremost, majority of your population should be made. What is education? It's a HRD exercise. It's a human resource development. And everyone, doesn't have to be PhD. Yes, we love PhDs. Some of them are sitting here, wonderful people. I love you all. However, you only need one PhD, and maybe you need 90,000 people who are vocationally very well trained. Now, what's happening in our country when it comes to development of the society, everybody doesn't have the aptitude of academics. A lot of minds work through, messing around the kids with the cars, with the motorcycle, with this box, with the electrical box and whatnot. I think what we need to do is start a huge vocational training program, and I'll give you an example that I'm not talking romantics. Look at the two countries in the world which have the best vocational training programs, Japan and Germany. And Germany is the only country in the entire Western Europe and the entire EU which has a trade surplus. There is a reason for it. They have been doing it for more than 100 years. Now, having done that, a child who does a little diploma of 6 months, it is not that we are blocking his future education. Then we are allowing him to go into finish junior college, then finish undergraduate, and then they make doctor, engineer, So we need to come up with, until and unless we do something for the common children of Pakistan and make them at least self-sustaining themselves in terms of some skill set. And nowadays, I think what we need to do is change little gears, not only do the plumbing and the electrical course or the masonry, which is also important perhaps, but a lot of this will be taken over by some robotics. It's coming. So what we need to do, put our children, give them a computer and ask them to start messing with it and give, so that we are ready for future.
So-
These are the things that
Yeah.
I have in mind.
So, Alizain, just briefly tell us, because we are also running short of time, how financial constraints are causing the less investments in green technologies.
Sure. I mean, let's talk about gas, for example. Right? We talked about electricity. Let's talk about gas. Everyone knows that we have no more gas. The indigenous gas is almost gone. What are we going to do about it? So what can you do as a household? I mean, everyone over here uses gas, right? You go home, put on the stove, you make tea. You have no gas, what do? You don't have tea, right? Is there an alternative? Yes, of course there are alternatives. I mean, the professor over there talked about, in Malaysia, he talked about biogas. Biogas, there was a project here when we started the research institute here in the engineering department 5 years ago. There was some lady who came up with a home kitchen biogas digester. So, and I don't know, she didn't finish a degree, but it was something that could be done. Every single person over here, if it came to that, if push came to shove, can potentially invest in a small biogas digester that takes your own household waste. It's a little bit of work. You have to segregate it, organics, inorganics. There's a process. Anaerobic digestion takes a few days, but eventually you get the gas. You can use it for cooking, right? I mean, I'm from Karachi, so we don't really think about it, the winter, that much. I went to Islamabad a few years ago. It was winter time. There was no gas in the day. In the evening, when the gas was coming, I went downstairs to the kitchen. The mulazim over there, he was sitting, gas is on, stove is on, he's sitting next to it reading a newspaper. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, it's cold. There's gas. I'm heating myself. I mean, can you imagine? So this is the societal change is also needed. The first thing I did was like, okay, 8,000 rupees, go out there, I bought a small little electric heater, gave it to myself, for God's sake, turn the stove off. So I think when you mention green technologies, you mention the financial cost. Yes, the cost of adoption is there. We don't think about it right now because there are alternatives, right? There is gas from time to time, there's electricity from time to time. But when there isn't, there are solutions out there. We just have to make sure, and this is in following Dr. Bhutto's theme, that what works for us, what is important for us in Pakistan, is building the next step in the wind power important for us to achieve the next higher level of efficiency? Maybe not. But finding a cheap solution to solve the gas problem, I think everyone over here can say that they will eventually be affected by that, if not now. So I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that. So basic problem is, of course, the information coordination, and of course, right policy decisions. We have the chief economist sitting right there. They have the data. Now my questions to Tawfiq, and then I come back to Professor Zayed Saab, because yeah, sure, sir.
You see, Ali Sen talked about that on south side we have the potential for the renewable energy, you see, but we are pouring into the system, and then on the north side we have the load on which we are giving to them the electricity. For example, we are getting windmills. We have windmills at Jhampir, and it has a potential of thousands of megawatts. We have potential at in this area in Sukkur and Khairpur and Nawab Shah to this solar, and we are getting a very cheap energy from this. For example, I'll give you one example. Last month, there was a 150 megawatt solar plant is inaugurated in Salepat. Salepat is hardly 5 kilometers away from Sukkur. You see how much you think that the energy they are solding to the SEPCO Johor. It is 0.14 cent, means 12 rupees per unit. They are putting into the system, and what we are getting from them is 65 rupees per unit. You see, the same energy can, and you think that what is the total requirement of Sukkur city? It is only 60 megawatt. In your 5 kilometers away, 150 megawatt is generated from solar, and where you are selling them to the SEPCO 12 rupees, and you are getting with the 65 rupees. So this is a dilemma that we have. In the same way, from the wind, we are getting the unit, putting into the system, taking it with the NTDC, 11 rupees, and you are giving us a back to 56 rupees or 65 rupees. So I think this is the basic problem where the energy cost is going up, and our businesses will not survive there. You see, these marts, these big businesses will close down because their running cost is increasing, and ultimately they will not survive. So what we have to do, what the madam said, that there is a gap between the industry and the academia also. See, for example, I talked to the owner, which is have installed this 150 megawatt. There's a group of investors available, and asked them, could you give us the 2 megawatt plant in my university, because my university's consumption is now it is 1 megawatt, but in futuristic, I think that it may be a 2 megawatt. They say, okay, you give us a land. I say, we have a 7-acre land we are giving to you, and you invest in it on BOT model. They invest it with a zero investment of the university, zero capital investment. They give us 25 rupees per unit, guaranteed unit, and after 12 years, the whole system will be shifted to the university. You see, so now the investors are available. Now we have to look into the solutions, and I think the universities are the hub which will provide the solutions. If I give you an example, that if we take an example of the university can be a place where you have a zero consumption, zero billing of the energy through alternative you can produce, and your 80% consumption is on the daytime, and you can install the solar panels. If you have the potential of windmill, you can install the windmills, and then you can generate the electricity. The university can be a zero paper consumption, paperless environment. We have ERP solutions, we have LMS, and COVID had taught us many new things in technology. Even now we can get the exams online. So university can be a place where there will be a zero paper consumption and also a zero waste producing. University can be, if we taught to the students that segregate the waste and then the recycling can be done, the bio waste can be used as a fertilizer to the plants and we can give them. So this can be done. So university can create an example and that can be a solution given to the other community. You see, now we have at my university backside, there is a cattle colony. You see, now all the cows, they have shifted the buffaloes and all these things toward that side. If we make some research on this, I think so much LPG we can produce that one cylinder we can distribute free to every household in Sukkur. हम दे सकते हैं जो वो. So this can be possible. वो जो बिलावल भुट्टो कहता है 300 units can be given and that can be given freely. If you see that 12 rupees or 15 rupees unit, if you give, this will be almost free to our government can subsidize more this year today. So the solutions are available. Universities have to take the research and take the ownership, and university should be the hub of the innovation with this.
Sir, I've been given a warning of 5 minutes and I have a lot of questions, but one question from Mr. Tawfiq. Professor Tawfiq, in the Friendly Technologies report, there was a recommendation to third world countries that, especially for Pakistan, that Pakistan has a lot of opportunities in biofuels, right? Like Ali Zain also mentioned. And also that the circular economy, the waste that we create, the waste concept you also talked about, and the landfillings. So in the landfillings, there's a lot of energy waste, because when you fill the land with the waste, of course, you often find a lot of fire on it because methane emits from landfillings. So what do you think, what are the opportunities of using those circular economy to make the most of resources available to third world countries, especially, I would not say with Pakistan, but you can refer your own example, your own country's example.
So thank you very much, Professor Bhutto. Well, yeah, you did mention about biofuel. I think this is one of the area of, according to SDG number 7, affordable and also clean energy, whereby this, I think it was a short one, this land filling is one of the source that produce methane, as you mentioned just now. Yeah. In Malaysia, I did mention about the POME, which is the palm oil meal influent, which is a wastewater from the washing of these oil palm fresh fruit. Well, this can be used as the source of methane, and in fact, the number of biogas that produce is actually very high and potential. The problem is, I don't think so that there are any of this methane being tapped from this source actually. That's why we can find a lot of this landfill being burned actually by by
Though we have technology distortions too in our lovely country. So, Professor, do you hear me?
local government or any of the industries biogas and be bottled up as a gas for cooking and so on. So the thing is opportunity and also technology and also the policy being applied in the local government. Thank you.
So I would now rather further go to the last question, though we have a lot of questions, we started late. So, how can Pakistan strategically pursue international collaborations to address global challenges in technology and environment, prioritizing specific issues for sustainable outcomes? Additionally, how businesses and universities can collaborate to enhance strategic partnerships and joint initiatives, because we have industry here and we have universities, like one of the example quoted by Professor Zajuddin Khan, that they just collaborated with one of the company to enhance the efficiency and go for green technologies. So this question is, I mean, first from this side and then from the industry side. Please be brief because we have less of time.
I think university and academia must have a very close relationship with each other. I give you one example. I am the Pakistan Engineering Council Board of Governors, and I am heading the Academia Industry Committee. So we have one meeting with the FCCI at Karachi, and see the one person from the tile industry, he given an example. He said, I need one test of the tile strength. And I went to the 4 engineering universities, and they have all the machines were available, but one said that that machine is out of order, and one said that we have machine but it has some power problem. One said that we have the operator is on leave, and one said that unfortunately we have not started it. So he said that same test, for same test, I sent to the China, and within a week I got the results. So this is basically a dilemma that we have all the facilities available, but we are not utilizing them. We are not linking them with the actual industry, what they require. Even the industry even does not see. So there is a gap, so we have to fill that gap. And when we fill that gap, so we can collaborate with each other and then do some innovative solution for the local industry.
Professor Abdullah.
Thank you very much. So I think the answer is just desire to do it. If you really want to do it, you can do it. There is nothing that we cannot do. Means if Sukkur IBA can get AACSB accreditation, Pakistan can also do that. So there is nothing which cannot be done. But at the same time, thank you, but at the same time, I would again say that everything does not work everywhere. Means we have been talking about these green technologies, but green technologies are not suitable for all the sectors. I was listening to Trump 2 days back, though he was doing his campaign, and all of a sudden he came up with a very interesting joke, and he said that the guys in USA are becoming really, really crazy. And why crazy? Because they've started talking about this green technology and its implementation everywhere. They've been talking about all the transportation sector EV based. Okay, EV is very good, but if you're going to have this EVs in boat, they will be so much heavy that they may not be able to float on the water. But at the same time, these guys are also coming up with an example of using EVs in tanks, in the war tanks. And he was of an opinion that when you are going to bombard a country anyway, whether it's environmental friendly or not, it doesn't matter. So you need to really understand what is required, what is the context, and where we are going to implement it. Do imply, but wherever it is needed. And if you really want to do it, we can do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Feroz, please be brief. You have 30 seconds, sir.
No, I really agree with both of you. If there is a desire, I think what we need to do is just actually call each other, visit and explore, spend time. So I hope and pray that this will give us a follow-up.
Mr. Lizen.
Again, I'm just going to repeat the 4 Ds: democratization, decentralization, digitalization, right? So, and distribution. But if you consider this, it means that the technology is now literally at the fingers of our students and you know, people who want to start businesses. So you don't need to buy electricity from a power plant anymore. you can set it up on your roof, right? Similarly, you can do all sorts of things with technology as an entrepreneur, as a startup. I mean, we're an agricultural economy. Maybe we should focus on technology and agriculture. I mean, especially in Sukkur and in this area, we talk about cotton, we talk about sugarcane, we talk about water scarcity, ground pollution. I mean, maybe that's an area to start in terms of green technologies. So.
Thank you very much. Professor Tawfiq, you have also less than 1 minute.
Yeah, less than 1 minute. Okay. So I think in future we have to go to green, where not only in, even though it's not all industry is suitable, but I believe that there are many industry which is related to them, especially on the chemical industry, whereby the chemical industry should go for the what they call it the atom economy, whereby atom economy means that you're using, for example, you're using C4 to produce carbon 4, a 4 carbon hydrocarbon feedstock to produce 4 hydrocarbon product, which means you have 100% of consumption of the carbon, which means also we reduce the formation of any carbon footprint from the industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Now one question. Now I open the floor for questions, but I will take one question only. Only one question. Anyone? Please. Please be simple, and you have 30 seconds only. So I request our Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif to answer this question. So actually, thank you so much. I conclude because I will also answer your question. We see that there is a rapid exponential technological growth because after the advent of fourth industrial revolution, and this world is shifting towards the green technologies. Green technologies not just only mean that reducing the carbon footprints. We also talk about technologies in those areas that also reduce the other environmental issues. For example, the loss of biodiversity and, of course, the genetically engineered crops that we are producing, though there's a lot of shift, of course, that also meets the needs of the society, but we do not see the consequences of those technological revolutions that happen in our agriculture sectors. So we need to decide what technologies are important and what sectors are important, because we know that the energy and transport sector, just these two sectors, makes the 50% of the global greenhouse gases emissions. So it's not just these fuels or technologies are responsible, that's we. Now today we talk about the green consumers and the green leaders, that whether we buy organic products, that's one aspect, one dimension of the green consumerism. Another concept of the green consumerism is that do we consume the calories that are required for us to remain healthy, or we consume more than that is required for us? And we have opportunities to exploit it. Only thing that we need is to find it in right place and right opportunity. Thank you so much. I thank my all panelists and the audience that patiently listened to us. Thank you.
Thank you. A big round of applause, please. Thank you. Thank you. Just to show you the token of thank, I would like to invite the Dean, Faculty of Business, Management and Science, Professor Dr. Niazim Al-Bhutto, to come forward at the stage and present the souvenir to the panel member. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Zahid Hussain Kansab to come and receive his shield. Big round of applause. Thank you, sir. Professor Dr. Arabella Bhutto, could you please come forward and receive the shield?
Professor Dr. Feroz Khan.
Mr. Feroz Khan, that's He's now the professor. Call him a professor. Brilliant.
Our last panelist, Mr. Ali Zain Banatwala.
Thank you very much. Now we will be leaving for the lunch break for, let's make it 15 to 20 minutes. I would request you to come back by 3:30.